Humans are fundamentally hardwired to be social, to connect and share experiences, thoughts, and ideas. So it was only natural that with the rise of modern technology came applications that utilize it to connect people. The website 6 Degrees, founded by Andrew Weinreich, is widely accepted to be the first such website, launching in 1997 and lasting for 3 years.
I'd like to start by talking to you about a series called 6 Degrees. It goes something like this. It says that every person on this planet is connected to every other person through no more than 6 relationships. Think about it for a minute. It means that I can trace a connection from myself to Boris Yeltsin, to Bill Clinton, to Michael Jordan, through my friends, and so forth.
The site allowed for users to create profiles and connect with other users, with a private messaging feature to chat. However, 6 Degrees eventually failed because it was simply too out of its time. Despite reaching a maximum of 3.5 million users, it was purchased by Ustream Media Networks for $125 million. 6 Degrees was followed by 2 more short-lived sites, the first being Are You Hot or Not in 2000, where users could submit photos for others to rate their attractiveness. The app was said to influence Facebook and YouTube and was later attempted to be revived as a game. The second was a dating site called Friendster that would help set up people with friends in common. The site had a spike in popularity in 2003, taking the company by surprise and messing up servers, which impacted usage. Friendsters then flocked to MySpace, the rival site, where users could update their public profiles with music, photos, and videos. MySpace reached its peak in 2005 with 25 million users, along with the title of the 5th most popular website in the US, though it quickly started declining soon after. 2003 also marked the launch of FaceSmash by Mark Zuckerberg, quickly followed by the Facebook the very next year, which became simply Facebook in the year following. In 2006, Facebook became publicly open, as it was previously a Harvard-exclusive club. 2005 allowed for an influx of multiple social media websites, namely LinkedIn, Photobucket, Flickr, WordPress, and YouTube. Here's the first ever YouTube video, titled Me at the Zoo, which now has over 250 million views.
Alright, so here we are in front of the elephants. Cool thing about these guys is that they have really long fronts, and that's cool. And that's pretty much all there is to say.
In 2006, Twitter was launched. 2007 brought forth Tumblr, launched by 17-year-old David Karp, allowing users to what is dubbed as microblog, letting people exchange small elements of content such as short sentences, individual images, or video links. Instagram was introduced in 2010, and Pinterest popped up in 2011, along with Snapchat, which was originally called Peekaboo, and became wildly popular with the teenage demographic. Musical.ly was launched in Shanghai in 2014, and eventually rebranded into TikTok in 2018. Most recently in 2020, BeReal was launched, and it's been taking off in popularity in the last year. TikTok is known to be extremely addictive, but what makes it so hard to get away from? It's a combination of the short length of videos and the powerful algorithm it uses to collect data. It keeps track of the videos you interact with, and shows you more videos it thinks you will like. You continuously see short and sweet videos that are enjoyable, and your brain releases dopamine, making you want to keep watching. Because TikToks are already so short, it forces content creators to fit their content into short, digestible pieces, easy for the consumer to watch and move on to the next thing, with no time for a lull in content or a room for boredom. Forbes summarizes this here. Enjoyment not only contributed to the user's intended continuance and engagement, but also contributed to the development of potentially bad habits, including addiction. It's also important to note that maximizing engagement is social media companies' business model. I also want to talk about BeReal, which has gained a lot of traction in the last year. Users of the app will receive a notification once, randomly in the day, when they will have 2 minutes to snap a photo that will be taken from both the front and back camera. These photos usually end up being more mundane than the average Instagram feed. The Washington Post says it best, quote, BeReal's success reveals an appetite among social media users for more inauthentic, intimate forms of expression, unquote. After more than a decade of careful and generally inauthentic social media presences, more people are starting to see the appeal of shifting to the sharing of more natural, everyday moments. This happened to coincide with the rise of casual Instagram, which Natalie Michie from Fashion Magazine wrote an interesting article dissecting. She says, quote, but the out-of-touch, hyper-curated aesthetics of performative Instagram set unrealistic standards and, frankly, became boring, especially as COVID-19 normalized less than glamorous lockdown living. Casual Instagram is the antithesis of what Instagram stood for previously. Now, instead of curated and posed high-quality photos, we look for nonchalant, almost accidentally appealing photos posted in a collection called photo dumps. Psychologist Joni Samra says, quote, "It's exaggerating the performance. To look spontaneous and unplanned requires planning. So the irony is that it's really no different from any other kind of posts," unquote. So now the app can lead users to feel like their mundane day-to-day lives aren't measuring up to others' experiences, like they aren't as naturally aesthetic or effortless. But we know how fast trends can rise and fall, so really, how long is it until the age of posed and planned posting is back? An interesting connection from pop culture comes from the deluxe version of Taylor Swift's album Folklore, which features a bonus track called The Lakes. The bridge of the song features the lines, "A red rose grew up out of the ice-frozen ground with no one around to tweet it." In a journal entry found in the deluxe edition of her album Lover, she says, to summarize, "They need photographic proof that they were there. They then need to post that photo online so their friends can see it, so that they can spend all day checking the comments underneath." Since TikTok is an algorithm-based app, much like Instagram and YouTube, it collects data and shows you more videos it thinks you will like. This makes it easy for you to see videos that hold similar positions to yourself, without videos that hold dissenting point of views. This makes it easier to shape your mindset around a certain position, and confirmation bias only enables it.
I'd say 3: TikTok, Snapchat, and Instagram.
I would say I use like 4 social media apps on a weekly basis.
I use about 3 social media sites on a weekly basis. They're usually YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram.
I'd say like 3 to 4 hours.
I probably spend up to 4 hours a day on social media.
I spend about 2 to 3 hours a day on social media.
I think it has, because I often see myself repeating phrases or slang I see on social media in real life, and I also see myself following clothing trends I see online.
I think a lot of this generation's language and just words that we use in general comes from hearing people on social media, and even if I don't constantly realize it, I'm influenced too, and I sometimes catch myself saying things that I hear online.
I feel like I unintentionally find myself changing the way that I act or speak to imitate people that I see online, because I'm on there so often, and so it's kind of inevitable that you start picking up and saying the same things that you hear.
Facebook experimented on users by seeing if negative news would make them more pessimistic while positive news would make them more kind. Users were not made aware of this experiment, in which the personal data of 87 million people was used, but Facebook claims that they are within their rights due to the terms and conditions. This goes to show that you may be unknowingly influenced by the content you are viewing, whether that be positively or negatively, and you as a user have little control on what you see. In her essay, Standing on the Shoulders of Complex Female Characters, Canadian writer and cultural critic Rain Fisher-Kwan speaks on the performative and consumerist culture of social media, especially pertaining to young women and teen girls. She says,
"It's become very common for women online to express their identities through an artfully curated list of the things they consume or aspire to consume. We consume so much now that perhaps we don't know what it means to exist as something unsellable. I had to give up journaling because I couldn't stop writing for the people who would read it after I was dead."
social media has become so all-consuming that it's become a barrier in our minds, preventing us from being as authentic as we want to be, pushing for the best, cleanest, most easily digestible versions of ourselves, while disregarding the fact that we as human beings do not live such lives. These sites are so hard to resist because, for better or worse, it's become a fabric of our society. 40% of social media users indicate that it would be difficult for them to give up social media. This obsession with self-image is even impacting the way people approach romantic relationships. The goal of perfecting the art of self-representation has grown enormously, even if that representation is false or heavily exaggerated. Social media has been creating a sense of urgency that we didn't previously have. Think about the time when people used to write and send letters, then wait weeks to get a response. In present time, there's no need to wait. Think about Snapchat and their feature of chats and snaps disappearing after 24 hours. This ability to connect with everyone in real time creates a need and compulsion to let everyone know what you're up to immediately. Experts are now arguing that Twitter has changed people's attention spans and that a growing number of people are no longer willing to read more than 280 characters. We now not only expect information quickly, but we also want it brief. This need to keep things brief has also given rise to abbreviations of words that have worked their way not only into our writing, but also our vernacular. On the other side of things, social media has also allowed us to communicate globally in unprecedented ways. It has given people the ability to communicate across geography, cultures, and languages, creating an interconnected community. It has brought our attention to injustices in the world and mobilized movements and started cultural conversations that are completely vulnerable and transparent, such as the Me Too movement, the mobilization of Black Lives Matter, the Women's March, the March for Our Lives, and more. Users can be distracted from relationships and social interactions by smartphones, and several authors have stressed that the excessive use of social media may lead to smartphone addiction, primarily because of the fear of missing out. Additionally, social media usage has been associated with anxiety, loneliness, depression, and social isolation. Another relevant thing to add is the social capital theory, that social relationships are resources that can lead to the development and accumulation of human capital. It's been previously used to study how social media usage affects psychological well-being.
Surrounding Facebook and Instagram, we bring in Bloomberg News reporter Sarah Frier, author of No Filter, The Inside Story of Instagram, which is now out in paperback. Thanks so much for joining us, Sarah.
Thanks for having me.
Ariel just reported on how social media filters can harm people's self-esteem, and a Facebook whistleblower is now saying that Instagram is particularly toxic to teens, a claim that Mark Zuckerberg is pushing back on.
Here are some action steps we can take to make our consumption of social media a little healthier. Based on all the ways social media can impact lifestyles, it's unhealthy for children or young teens to have them. Children should not be on apps where they have unrealistic standards and unregulated content. Adding stricter age restrictions to these apps is a good way to start. Additionally, taking a detox day every once in a while is a great way to improve your mental health, and sleep should always be prioritized. To prevent falling down a rabbit hole of mindless scrolling, it's good to spend time with friends and family and to have a hobby you enjoy doing. While there's no instant fix to the impacts of social media, understanding that it is a process and a journey is a good start.